Okay. So have you guys ever have you ever lost something and you searched for it and you got to the point of it being so lost that you started praying to find it again? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not alone in this. Like if you lost a wedding ring, it's not a good deal, okay? Because when you have to admit, hey, I lost this thing, which means you took it off. Come on. That's a dangerous conversation. Hopefully that partner has some mercy on you, right? Maybe, I don't know. So you just start praying. God, just if you're here, just help it, let it float like the Force. Like in like a Star Wars movie, and let it hover and let it glow, Lord God, like the Ring of Power in Lord of the Rings. Like just something, let me find it. I had one of these situations when I was in middle school where I just needed something. Really, I used to ride my bike to and from middle school. And for some reason, one day, I just decided I was going to take my dad's bike, which isn't an interesting part of the story unless you know I'm not supposed to take my dad's bike. But for whatever reason, because I think every middle schooler thinks that every rule is meant to be bent until it breaks, I was like, well, my bike was available. I just decided to take my dad's. Anybody do something dumb like that? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not alone here in all of this stuff. So I took it. I was probably in a rush for school, and it was the fastest thing available. But I get to school, and where I would normally put the bike and chain it up, I realized my bike chain was on the bike I'm supposed to use and not on my dad's bike. And so here was my brilliant solution to that problem. I hid the bike between the dumpster and the wall of the school. Okay. Well, listen. Okay. Before you judge. Okay. I was 13. Okay. Like I was still getting out of hide and seek, was like hiding behind a plant. Okay. So I thought this was great, fully covered. No one's who would go to a dumpster to look for anything? It was unlikely. That was running through my head. That still didn't stop the anxiety of the whole day. Like as I am in class, I'm already ADHD, but I am extra fidgety. I'm because if it gets stolen, this is bad news because it's my dad's bike. And I can't hide that fact. So the school bell rings and I book it. I get out of there as fast as I can. I run to the dumpster. Lo and behold, not there. So I start searching. Maybe it just rolled a little bit. Maybe you start reasoning. Maybe somebody, thought to steal it and they just decided not to and put it on the other side of the wall there. I start searching, and then I start praying like a man facing the electric chair. Lord, whatever gets me out of this. And my 13-year-old sins are being proclaimed. God, I won't steal any more candy from bakers. God, I promise not to cuss anymore. Just help me find this bike. I'm laying out all of the things, and I'm getting more and more anxious as this is going. And here's, okay, I want to talk about this anxious anxiety of the search, where that there's something you're looking for, but you can't find it. And then it just feels like you're never gonna find it. It's just going to be lost. So here's the problem that I just want to lay this out with the prayers is I was asking for an answer and then for God. And the problem of the seeker is you need to switch this up. I need to look for God and then I'll get the answer. John Piper, he's a pastor and a writer. He wrote this talking about this challenge for the seeker. He says, it is a myth that man in his natural state is genuinely seeking God. So he says this, men do seek God, but they do not seek him for who he is. They seek him in a pinch as one might preserve them from death or enhance their worldly enjoyments. Right? It's the car crash that you call out, right? It's when you lost something or somebody or a diagnosis, then the prayer becomes real. Then I need you, God. Before it was just like, hey, help me out. I'm going to go ask for a raise, which I believe that's a great prayer, by the way. I'm not putting that down, but if that's our only prayer, well, what this quote, and I believe what the Bible draws us to, is we're missing what we're actually searching for. We're going to miss it completely. So we're in this series called For the One. And when this is built off of this parable that Jesus tells where he says there is a shepherd with 100 sheep and one of them goes and wanders off, goes into the wilderness, goes into danger. And it says that a good shepherd, a good person would leave the 99 that are safe and go get the one. And go chase the one. And then when you find it, you would lift it up onto your shoulders, bring it, and then you would get all the other shepherds together and celebrate that the one is back. This is wild because that doesn't make sense. What if you left and the 99 are now in danger because you're not there to protect it? The thought behind it is the 99 will take care of themselves. The goal of the kingdom is not to just take care of the 99, it's to reach the one. But often in our churches, we get really comfortable in our little circles, and it's really easy to just make friends with what you have and do this. Here's some of the other things is that we go to churches and maybe we don't see our demographic shown up in those churches. Sometimes there's churches that don't welcome that demographic. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry that that happens for anybody who feels like that was a category that you fit into. One of the things we try to do here at Dwell is open that up to everybody. Which means there's going to be new experiences, cultures, ways that we're going to try things and go, maybe that worked, maybe it didn't. Who knows? But I think that's what the church is supposed to look like, right? I think it's supposed to be messy in that. And he says, we're going to go for the one. So the first week we said Jesus specifically goes after the one who is sick. Those who are physically and spiritually sick, he wants to bring healing to them. So today we're going to talk about the one who is searching. The one who is searching. I shared the story of losing my dad's bike and searching for it because I want to help you understand what our friends and family might be feeling. Maybe they lost a loved one physically and are seeking answers. Or perhaps they lost their childhood due to a tough separation, abuse, or unsafe circumstances. Maybe they're looking for the right job, spouse, or family to fill a void in their life. Like with my dad's bike, they might have used something in the wrong way and lost it because of that and are looking to find it again. These are the searching people. They're trying to find an answer to a difficult question in life. One of the things that we have in this room right now is you get to hear somebody on a weekly basis say, we found what we were searching for. But imagine all of the people out there who don't know that and are just searching and not finding. And even though we're in this room, sometimes we're searching and not finding, but you at least have the safety of the community to join you on that. But there's sheep. We're sheep too, by the way. We're not any better or worse. But there's people out there in the wilderness and in danger. As Christians, we are called to be a light in the world that is filled with darkness. I love Jesus in Matthew chapter 5. He puts it this way. He said, here's another way to put it. You are here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world, which means it's not a single color. That's plural, by the way. So if you're like, oh, I got to look, I got to act, I got to be a certain way in order to do this. No, he said colors. Vibrant, beautiful, expansive, ever changing and adapting and moving and refracting. This is the God that we're talking about. God is not a secret to be kept. We are going public with this. As public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. What a beautiful scripture. We read that out of the Message, which is an interpretation of some of the deeper words. It just kind of makes it a little more beautiful, a little more in kind of our language that we would understand today. I want to encourage you, if you're like the Bible feels like it's too hard to read, try the Message translation. It might be able, or interpretation. It might be a little easier. So God has called us to be a light for those who are searching, who are left in the darkness. And he says, as you go on this journey and you feel unqualified, by the way, me too. He says, I'm going to put you on the top of a hill. Yeah. What kind of light are you going to shine? He's not going to put a bucket on you, but are you going to? Are you going to hide the light he's giving you? Here's a problem that we have. We like the darkness. The dark is comfortable. The dark I can control because no one can see me. So I don't even have to put on a mask anymore because you don't even see that I'm in the room. We like the darkness. The darkness it feels safe. It feels like we can live and breathe in there. But in John chapter 4, Jesus, once again, because he's Jesus, he calls us out in this and he says, this is the crisis we're in. God, light streamed into the world, but men and women everywhere ran for the darkness. They went for the darkness because they were not really interested in pleasing God. Everyone who makes a practice of doing evil, addicted to denial and illusion, hates God's light and won't come near it, fearing a painful exposure. I am Irish and Native American, which means I turn red when the sun peaks in the sunrise. You'll know when I mow the lawn because I'll come in here bright red. Painful exposure. I get sunburned pretty easily, so I got to put on like the SPF 60. And my kids hate it, by the way, because I make sure they do too. I once got like a 3rd-degree burn from a sunburn, like blisters. I know, it's gross. That was painful exposure, by the way. But here's what I want you to see, that image right now, because that is what we're fearing, okay? And it's right to fear it because God's light is not going to be dimmed because we want to kind of put the little dimmer light onto it and go, maybe just a little steady here and there. He's just going to show up. As the word says right here, God light streamed into the world. And so there's a fear of this exposure of what's going to happen. It's one of the saddest things about being a leader in church communities. And so many things get put in the dark and you try to help and you try to talk. Maybe you guys have had this experience with friends before. And then something that was in the dark comes to light. And it feels like betrayal, doesn't it? It feels like, I wanted to be here for you. Why didn't you open up? Why didn't you talk about it? See, I think God has an answer. I think I want to talk about that today. Jesus tells us that if we are blind and in the dark, we will stay there and make a way of life that will harm us, not help us. If we don't know or refuse to believe that Jesus is what we're searching for, we will do what all people do in the dark. We will stop looking. We'll start making our own devised solutions. These solutions feel right in the moment. They feel right because they solve the immediate pain of the problem, right? Come on, coping mechanisms. There's some good ones like walking and exercising and talking. By the way, those are coping mechanisms. That's good. You should do that. Heavy drinking, partying, sleeping around. Not good coping mechanisms. Just to let you know, if that wasn't something, and I don't mean to be silly, we all kind of know because some DARE program in school told us not to do that. But then it was just an adult saying something that we never, and then when we experience it, we're like, I don't know why you're telling me that's bad because it felt pretty great. Like, so I'm just going to keep doing the thing that feels good. That for you told me it was bad, but didn't tell me why it was bad. It's not bad because it feels good. It's bad because what it leads to, right? That is what we have to be on guard with. That's what we're trying to look for. We will stop looking for answers. So here's the way that I know that this works is if I were to explain what you do in the dark, you'd be immediately embarrassed, right? And so that's why we keep it in the dark. Because if it was out, you would run like a cockroach. I would run like a cockroach if there was something I was hiding in the dark and did not want it to be out. And so here, let's take a hypothetical example, okay? This is, to my knowledge, this is none of us in the room, but this might be somebody out of this room, okay? And if this is you, well, let's talk about it. Hypothetical example, a woman is searching for love, but kept finding people who were using her. So she stopped searching and started using people for herself. She gets sex when she wants, she turns people away, and she hasn't committed her heart to a partner, friend, or family member in years. When looking at the life of this person, would any of us say that she's living in the light? No. Should we judge her for that? I don't think so, because of how she got there. Now, the question isn't how do we keep this hypothetical person in the dark? How do we bring them to the light? They were searching for something that was good, but kept finding emptiness. And so eventually stopped searching. John chapter 8 gives us a powerful story of a woman in darkness, much like our example right here. She's brought in front of Jesus. It's a little bit of a longer passage, but run with me for a second here. John chapter 8, verses 1 through 9. It says, Jesus went across to Mount Olives, and he began, but he soon back in the temple again. Swarms of people came to him. He sat down and taught them. The religion scholars and Pharisees led a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They stood her in plain sight of everyone and said, "Teacher, this woman was caught red-handed in the act of adultery." Notice that the man's not there. Moses in the law gives orders to stone such persons. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something incriminating so they can bring charges up against him. Picture this. If she was caught, it means they probably didn't let her get dressed. She is exposed in plain sight, standing in front of the Savior, ready to be stoned. And according to Jewish law, everyone would be right to do it. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger in the dirt. They kept at him, badgering him. He straightened up and said, "The sinless one among you, go first. Throw the stone." Bending down again, he wrote some more in the dirt. Hearing that, they walked away, one after another. Beginning with the oldest, the woman was left alone. A woman in darkness is being shamed by men also in darkness. And Jesus turned on the light for everybody. No, not just her. Everybody. Let's expose it all. Oh, you wanted to point her out. Let's point everybody out. Let's get it all out here. What do? They scatter for fear of painful exposure. What does she do? She could run. She would have every right, cover up, maybe come back. She stays. You see, many people will leave, but one might stay. One will stay. That's the one we're called to. Let those who want to live in darkness, let them run. It's going to be a lot of work. Don't give up on them, but let them run. Never stop looking, but let them run. Jesus turns on the light for everyone. The ones ready for the light will stay. Trust me on this. 13 years of being a pastor, I've seen a lot run. I've been a runner. But at one point, you and I, instead of running from fear of exposure, stayed. There was a moment, maybe it was in your bedroom, in your living room, maybe it was in your car driving after you just got the worst news. Maybe it was here at church or another church, and you were there and you felt, I'm at rock bottom. I feel exposed. Everybody knows the things that I've been hiding. And there was one moment, I can guarantee it because you're here right now, that you stayed. You said, I'm done. I need to find what I was searching for. So we turned the light on and we helped, and somebody helped us. It doesn't solve the problem just simply turning the light on for the searching person, but the woman is left there with her and Jesus, and we've all been here. And so here's Jesus' response to when she stays. Jesus stood up, spoke to her, and said, "Woman, where are they? Does no one condemn you?" "No, Master, neither do I," said Jesus. "Go on your way. From now on, don't sin." She knows. She knows what was wrong in her life. He doesn't need to point out. He just says, you're free now. There's something that can be different now. Jesus once again addressed them. I am the world's light. No one who follows me stumbles around in the darkness. I provide plenty of light to live in. Back to my middle school mess up. Remember, the bike that I thought was safe between a dumpster and a wall is gone. And I'm praying out to God. Hey, God, I feel really exposed right now because I'm a liar and I don't know what to do. And as I reached out, I didn't feel like God answered. To be honest, I don't think God wanted to help me continue to lie. So I don't think he was going to answer my lie with another lie. So I'm there and I did what most of us do. I did what so many of our friends and family do. I did what this woman who was caught in adultery did before we met her in this story, was I devised my own plan. Here was my plan. Okay, don't judge, please. Okay, I'm better now. Maybe, I don't know. I'd like to think I'm better now, Corey, but I may not be. Hopefully, we'll see. So here was my plan. There was a high school right down the street. And so I decided I was going to walk to the high school parking lot, and then I was going to take a running start and jump and land and drag myself across the gravel and then rip my backpack and my clothes and then walk back to the middle school. It gets worse. And tell the middle school that a high schooler threw me on the ground, stole my bike, and then left. And it worked. Isn't this the worst part when you do something bad and it works? It's working great. I put on my best fake cry, which wasn't hard. I was bleeding. So I'm there and I'm hamming it up. And they brought in the school officer. And so he's making a report because they got to go try to find this imaginary high schooler. And so I'm making up what I think a high schooler looks like. My dad was a youth pastor, by the way. And so I just used like one of the students I didn't like in my dad's youth group. And I just described him. I didn't know if he went to that school, but I just needed somebody. Stop, okay? Quit judging me, okay? It's survival of the fittest right here. I'm in the dark, guys, okay? I'm just trying to get out of this. Here's my thought. If I can't, my dad's bike is stolen. There's no way of getting around that. What I can get out of this is I'm the victim. This is actually someone else's fault. I'm actually a good person. I came here, you can't blame the victim. So I got to have a good enough story. So they call my dad and he says he's on his way, and I'm sitting there. The principal's right next to me, the school counselor's next to me, and the school officer's next to me. And he's asking me, here, what's the description of the bicycle? What's the description of this kid? And as I'm giving the description, what I didn't account for was the bike wasn't actually stolen, because there was a custodian in the room who said, that sounds awfully familiar. So as my dad walks into the school, they start wheeling the bicycle into the office with him. Tarina, come on, you know what I'm talking about. The jig is up. Like, and I went from to, oh no. Now remind you, I promised God I wasn't going to cuss anymore if the bike was found, but I definitely cussed, okay? So like, I'm extra worried at this point. And so what I found out is the custodian saw this bicycle and assumed the correct story, which was a kid forgot their bike lock and wanted to keep it safe. And they would go to the lost and found and say, hey, I'm missing my bicycle. Does anyone know? Because that's what you're supposed to do, Balin, in the future. Okay? So he brings it in. Okay, I'm crying for a different reason. And here's where I'm at right now, okay? I have everybody staring at me, waiting for a response. And everybody has a right in a different way to be mad, frustrated, cast a judgment on me for something that I inconvenienced. I used resources that could have been used for a kid who actually needed help. And not only that, I have lied and manipulated in such a way that, like, I can't go back from the level in which I manipulated. Like, my dad didn't know I was capable of that level of what is happening right here. So here's what happened. The police officer bends down to my seat and says, no problem, buddy. I'm just glad you're safe. And walks out. The principal has me stand up and she gives me a hug. Jeez, I was writing this. I wasn't getting emotional. I am, because I'm staring in front of people. And she said, never be afraid to ask for help. And she walks away. Now I'm left with my dad, I've wronged him the most. And he doesn't look at me. He just grabs the bike, and I instinctively follow him. And we go out to the car, and he throws the bike, and he takes my backpack off, and he throws it in the back seat. And I am terrified. And my dad hugs me. He says, son, I don't care about the bike. I was so scared that I wasn't there to keep you safe. And it turns out I wasn't searching for a bike. I was searching for safety. And I couldn't find it because I did something wrong. And what I needed in that moment was not to be told, Eric, you know you did something wrong. Let's punish you. It was, I needed to feel safe. I didn't need a bad guy. I needed a savior. And in this moment, my dad got to be the arms and heart of Jesus in my life. So much so, I remember this story to this day. I hope that maybe you remember my story. Here's what this officer, this principal, and my dad gave me, and what we can give people. Hope. For the one who's searching in your life, who just is in the darkness, you don't need to point out what they're doing wrong. By the way, you don't even need to get them to admit all the wrong things and own up and reconcile with you. That's trash. That's just you. That's you getting in the way of hope. Well, you can give somebody who is caught in darkness what I want to give you guys on Sundays, where you feel like you've just been caught in the darkness of life, is there is hope, and it is the light of Jesus. And it's a beautiful thing. Worship team, will you guys come up? We're going to wrap it up here. How do we reach people searching in the dark? It's hope. Listen, we cannot save people from their lies and bad situations. We can't even save ourselves from our lies and bad situations, but we can be aware of how someone got in the mess that they're in and give empathy. I've been there. I know what my version of this felt like, and I can't even imagine what you're feeling like right now. But I was alone when I went through it. I refuse to let you be alone while you go through it. That is what Jesus does in this moment. He looks at this woman and he says, where are your accusers? Nowhere. and neither do I. And I have every right as the Messiah, as God, to say no. And I don't say no. How odd would it be that if he doesn't say no to the lost person, that for some reason his church decides that we get to say no to the lost and searching person? That is not going to be dwell. I refuse to let that be dwell. Anglican Bishop Desmond Tutu once said this: hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Now, if you're caught in the dark, how do you see light? Someone's got to show you. Someone's got to tell you. Someone's got to let you know there is hope. And even if you can't see it yet, let me try to rip these walls down so you can see some light. Let me put a sunroof inside this box. Let me open a door. Let me crash through a window. Let you know that there is hope. The hope of Jesus is a light that dispels darkness and makes what was unsearchable seen. And let me point you back to the problem of the seeker. We are not getting answers and then getting God. We're getting God and then the answers. This is the promise of God. Let me leave you with this one more quote. By the way, a leader's a reader. If you want to lead your life, I want to encourage you to start reading some more. C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite writers and kind of happenstance theologian, he says, of course, God does not consider you hopeless. Thank God. If he did, he would not be moving you to seek him. And he obviously is. What is going on in you at present is simply the beginning of the treatment. Continue seeking with cheerful seriousness. Unless he wanted you, you would not be wanting him. Dwell Church, we're on a mission to bring hope to a hurting and fearful world. I've led people to Jesus, but never through an argument. I've led people to Jesus, and this is going to sound odd, but it was never through acts of charity. I've never said the sinner's prayer or helped somebody go to church because I gave them food. We still do that, but that's not the point. The point is, are we drawing people to Jesus? Now, can I do that through a meal? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's just the first part. That's just turning on the light. I got to let Jesus do the rest. I got to share hope. I got to do something bigger than what I think I can even do. We are called to reach searching people in this world and give them the hope of Jesus. I don't care about being good people who do the right thing. I care about being God people who do the God thing. And bringing as many people on that journey as possible. As Jesus said, we should follow. In Luke 18, I'll end right here in verse 17. It says, the scroll of Isaiah the prophet was handed to Jesus. He unrolled the scroll and found a place where this was written. He's actually reciting a prophecy about himself. This is awesome, by the way. This is the coolest thing ever. And here's out of every prophecy he could have written or read from the scroll of Isaiah, he picks this one. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and he's anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim the captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free. Would you guys stand up with me?